And at this moment in hockey history, the Nashville Predators currently find themselves in 5th place in the Central Division. 71 games skated on the season. That means only 11 games left on the season. First of 2 games over the course of the weekend. That's the game we're talking about now. We'll talk about the Maple Leafs in this preview. 36-27-8 is the Nashville Predators' overall record on the season. 80 points is how many they have on home ice, which is where their next game will take place against the Leafs on Sunday afternoon, late Sunday afternoon. Road record of 18-13-4. The Preds have scored 202 goals on the season. They've given up 213 goals against, and there's a goal differential of -11. Now, let me update you on the latest Central Division standings. Then we'll talk about the wild card, because while the wild card is becoming less realistic, it is still not out of reach completely. So, Central Division update first. The Minnesota Wild are in first place with 93 points. They have skated in 73 games. That is more than the 2 teams they're competing with for the top of the Central Division. Second place right now is the Dallas Stars. 72 games completed on the season, 92 points. Colorado Avalanche have 90 points in third place. Winnipeg is in fourth place. They've skated in the most amount of games in the entirety of the division. They have 85 points. The Preds are in fifth place with 80 points. Then St. Louis with 70, and then Arizona with a little E, and Chicago with little E. So 2 teams in the Central now officially eliminated. Their season is concluded, all but finishing out the games on the schedule. So the Nashville Predators in the Central find themselves in 5th, but the Central Division could find 4 teams going to the wild card. So for the Nashville Predators, moving up 1 slot would be incredibly beneficial, and that's exactly who they're competing with directly, is the Winnipeg Jets. Going over the wild card standings for the Western Conference, Seattle currently holds wild card 1 with 88 points. Winnipeg holds wild card 2 with 85 points, and then Calgary has eclipsed the Nashville Predators and has 81 points, and then the Preds are at 80. So the Preds and the Calgary Flames have played the same number of games at this point. The Preds have skated in 3 fewer games than the Winnipeg Jets. That's why I keep saying that the wild card is not completely out of reach with this Nashville Predators team. Of course, you cannot assume 3 victories in the 3 games at hand. It just would not make any sense, and it would be disingenuous to try to sell you that, because I don't believe the Nashville Predators are going to win those 3 games that they have in hand, and that's not a big deal. The Nashville Predators are 2 teams out of the wild card right now, have to jump over Calgary, and then would have to displace Winnipeg. Still capable of doing so. It is very long odds, so at this point. Now, for the Nashville Predators, once this back-to-back over the weekend is wrapped up, somewhat of a more traditional week for the first time seeming in a while. Tuesday, the Preds are in Boston, take on the buzzsaw known as the Bruins. Their season is already solidified. They've won their division. They have their playoff spot taken care of, so we'll find out if that's a different Boston Bruins team than we saw on the night that we had a catfish too far incident at Bridgestone Arena. Thursday, the Preds are in Pittsburgh. Saturday, back home against St. Louis. And then on April the 3rd, starting off the final month of the regular season, the Nashville Predators will be in Dallas. They'll follow that up the next night at home against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, the Preds and the Leafs, they've met 1 time this season, so this will be the second of 2 regular season meetings, closing out the regular season series. It was back on January the 11th. The Preds fell 2-1 in Toronto. It was Tavares with a goal and an assist, Marner with the other goal. Murray picked up the victory net, 32 out of 33 for the Preds side of the ledger. Forsberg scored the only goal for the Preds. UC Saros took the loss, 33 out of 35. Now, before we talk about the Leafs and the direct matchup, let's update you on the injuries. The captain, Roman Josi, still listed as day-to-day, potentially could come back at any moment, or at least that's what we have been said and told a number of times. Carey, Parson, and Forsberg all still out of the lineup and definitely missing that offense of Philip Forsberg, especially as of late. Now, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they've just wrapped up their game a matter of minutes ago. They now have a record of 43-20-9, 95 points, has them second overall in the Atlantic. On the road, a record of 18-13-4, highly respectable record, a plus 47 goal differential. That's a hell of a number right there. And we'll go back and take a look at their most recent 5, and we'll call that the sample size. 3-17 was a 5-2 victory versus the Carolina Hurricanes. On the 18th, the next night, a 5-4 shootout win at the Ottawa Senators. On the 21st of March, a 7-2 loss at the New York Islanders. And on the 23rd, a 6-2 win at Florida. And just a few minutes ago, wrapping up a 5-3 loss at the Carolina Hurricanes. Murray getting the start, 23 out of 27 in that game. So the Leafs have to jump on the plane and make the quick hop over the mountains here to Nashville. They'll be arriving late. They will not have much of a turnaround time. Probably not going to get to see the sights or do a lot of hanging out on Broadway because it's a 5 o'clock game at Bridgestone Arena, and the back-to-back for both teams definitely affects who we will see in net. So for the Nashville Pers and the Maple Leafs, let's go over the league rankings and the matchup for these two squads. Now, the Maple Leafs are going to have significantly more impressive statistical metrics. By the way, just one more comment on the Leafs and their record. They are basically locked into the 2-3 matchup when it comes to the Atlantic Division going into the playoffs. Boston is so far ahead of the pack that nobody's going to catch up to them, and there's nobody going to catch up to the number 3 spot. So it looks, for all intents and purposes, unless something absolutely crazy happens, it's going to be Tampa Bay and Toronto in the first round. Just a matter of who's going to have the home ice advantage in that series. Just to set you up how the Leafs mentality may be down the final stretch of 10 games of the season. There's not a whole lot left for them to play for. Kind of already locked in, so they could be working on some things. They could start resting some players. But let's talk about the rankings. Let's talk about the matchups. Let's talk about the statistics for these two teams. When it comes to goals for on the season, Nashville Predators 2.77. That's 26th in the NHL, while the Maple Leafs have a significantly better number. 3.43 per game is 7th best in the NHL. When it comes to goals against, Nashville Predators 2.97, 12th, respectable, but the Maple Leafs are 9th best in the league at 2.76. When it comes to the shots for category, the Preds have just struggled generating shots on goal in large numbers and quantities the entire season. Still under 30, 29.9, 23rd overall in the NHL. The Leafs at 31.8, that's 15th, right in the middle of the pack there. Shots against the Preds giving up 33.3 per game. High shot volumes against their goaltenders, that's 27th, near the bottom of the league, while the Maple Leafs are only giving up 29.3 shots per game. That's 6th best in the entire NHL. When it comes to special teams, well, the Toronto Maple Leafs power play is far, far more impressive than the Nashville Predators power play. 25.4% is 3rd best overall in the NHL. That's their conversion rate in their league ranking. For the Nashville Predators, 17.7% is their conversion rate. That's 26th in the league. 38 out of 215. 38 goals on 215 opportunities is the breakdown for the Nashville Predators. On the penalty kill, the Preds do lead in this particular statistical metric, the only one on the board. 81.8% is their penalty kill rate. That's 11th best in the league, and they have been red hot as of late. 43 power play goals against on the season, not necessarily reflective of how good they've been since the All-Star break. The Toronto Maple Leafs power penalty kill is 80.5% kill rate on the season, 13th, 42 power play goals against. When it comes to individual statistics, we always talk about the top 5 for each team and the expected goaltender matchup. In this particular situation, both teams playing back-to-back. Pretty sure we know what the goaltender matchup is going to be, so we're going to update the numbers on the goaltenders that play on Saturday and give you the preview of the goaltenders we expect to play on Sunday. Let's talk about the visiting Toronto Maple Leafs coming into Bridgestone Arena. Marner, 28 goals, 65 assists, 93 points. 100 points is probably very easily a reality for him by the end of this season. Another impressive season. Nylander, 36 goals and 45 assists for 81 points. Matthews, 36 goals and 39 assists for 75 points. Tavares, 30 goals and 42 assists for 72 points. Bunting, 21 and 25 for 46. Now, Matt Murray played in Carolina just a bit ago. 23 out of 27 in that game, taking the loss. His updated numbers for the season: 14, 8-2, and 905 save percentage, 2.97 goals against average. Samsonov expected to get the start in Nashville: 24, 9-3 on the season, a 914 save percentage, a 2.46 goals against average. Flipping over to the home side of the statistical ledger, the captain, Roman Josi, still out of the lineup listed as day-to-day, but also still leading the Nashville Predators in scoring on the season. 18 goals, 41 assists, 59 points. Matt Duchene now at 22 goals and 34 assists for 56 points. Philip Forsberg on injured reserve, 19 goals, 23 assists for 42 points, 3rd overall on the team in scoring. Tommy Novak, 14 goals and 19 assists for 33 points. Citizens 11 and 16 for 27. After today's game, UC Saros' updated stats are 28, 20, and 7 is his record. 915 save percentage, a 2.80 goals against average. Kevin Lankinen anticipated to get the start against Toronto Maple Leafs, a record of 8-6-1, 917 save percentage, a 2.70 goals against average. Now, caveat I'm going to put in there: Lankinen should get the start and is expected to get the start, but John Hines at times has shown a willingness to play his starting goaltender UC Saros in back-to-back situations. I do not feel that this is a situation that he should do that. UC Saros has already had an incredibly heavy workload this season, and he's coming off a game where, frankly, you're about to find out how the game went. It didn't go very well, so UC Saros deserves the chance to sit and take a break in this opportunity. That gets you all set up for the Nashville Predators and Toronto Maple Leafs Sunday, late afternoon at Bridgestone Arena. Wild card race still very much at hand for the Nashville Predators. The youth getting the minutes. That's the most important thing as far as my coverage, my concern is the final 10 games of the season going forward. It's getting those impactful players of the future the most important minutes in challenging situations and against other teams that are fighting for their playoff lives as well. It's been great to watch. It's been great to track. It hasn't been flawless hockey. There have certainly been imperfections, and there have certainly been things that lessons can be learned from, and some of that we're going to talk about here coming up in the analysis portion. But first, let's tell you everything that happened in the game against Seattle Kraken, game 2 of the week series against Seattle Kraken. It's called the Rebirth Sports Full Game Recap, and it's coming up next right here on the Renegades Puck Podcast.
Hockey players are as unique as the game itself, and your uniform should be tailored to fit you. Rebirth Sports is your sports apparel tailor. From shells, bags, warm-ups, hats, hoodies, branding, and more, let Rebirth Sports be your custom hockey tailor.
And don't forget to tell them they do more than just hockey.
Rebirth Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Rebirth Sport, a match made in hockey.